Hello there everyone, Ashnflash here, and welcome on into a video where we're going to be comparing all three of the different Iron Man helmets that we've gotten over the years. LEGO Marvel Super Heroes turns 10 years this year, and you can see here, the one closest to you here as it turns on the left is all the way back from 2012. That's the very first Iron Man helmet that we had. Then in 2017 we got this suit, and this is a comic book outfit, and they decided to introduce this with this suit and another one. And this helmet has been used for a ton of different themes ever since, and then most recently here on the right we have the brand new Iron Man helmet that appeared in the new Hall of Armor set, which is called the Iron Man Armory. And it kind of combines the two things here, and we'll talk about why that is and just some of the pros and cons, and honestly how my tune has sort of changed seeing them here all next to each other. But anyways, be sure to watch the whole video and just tell me how you feel at the end of it, because I'm going to be sharing this video with LEGO, and this is going to be in my report because I have to fill out a report every time I do a review. So with this review from that set, I'm going to be talking about this video and how people feel about the helmet. So it's important to vocalize it, and I may put a community poll up as well to just sort of get a feel for that. But anyways, let's go ahead and let's take a closer look at the functionality between these. So these were the first ever Iron Man minifigures. Now, of course, there was the one exclusive, but we're talking only retail ones that you could actually purchase. And with these two suits, they sorely need an update, like the leg printing, the torso printings, they're very outdated. But the helmets have been beloved since 10 years ago. And what was great about these is that the helmets can actually be flipped up. And then when they were replaced, people were really missing the old helmets, and this was a very sought after thing, I think, was the flipping up of the helmets. And you could see even the back torso printing. Like, these really need updates in the Infinity Saga, but we're not really here to talk about that. So that's the functionality of this helmet. They're pretty bulky, but they were very unique for the time as well. So enter in the comic book helmet, which is what this has often been referred to. And you could see just the helmet there. It allows you to print a lot, and you could even go into the cheekbones there, which you see with the Mighty Micro one. So these are from 2017, and these sort of replace those ones that you just saw. And again, you'll see a closer look in a second actually comparing them. But overall, I think that they were a much needed support, I think, to Iron Man, because it did allow for some really cool variations, but we just didn't want a replacement altogether. And then here we are now, and these are the new helmets, and we're actually going to compare because these two suits both appeared in sets from last year, and that gives us the perfect example of how to compare them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. This is the Mark III, and when I was looking at all the different Iron Man suits, I noticed that pretty much all the original helmets for 3, 4, and then 6 and 7, they're very, very similar. So I could see them, if they were to reuse this helmet there, minus the little dots on the top, I could see them, if they were to remake those ones that I was just talking about wanting remakes for, I could definitely see them just reusing that helmet, because they're very similar, and that's exactly what LEGO did back in 2012, was they're just the same helmet. And in comparison, I love the original helmet, don't get me wrong, but it does look really bulky. And there's something that I'm only seeing now in comparison to this that I do kind of like the sleekness of it. I think that it does add a little bit to it. I'm not saying I prefer it. I don't think that it's perfect. I think that there's definitely some flaws. I'm going to show you this. If we were to open up both the helmets here, look at the difference of height. You could see the height difference there and just how much of a gap there is up above on this right one. Just to further show you, this one is a lot thicker, the new one. You can see how far back it comes past the back torso, as well as just height-wise, it is a little bit taller. And I think that that's something you really notice here when you look at it from the front, is it's just very sort of jarring. I almost feel like how much space there is above the head, where this, I don't know, I don't get that vibe from the original one. And here they are without the visor attached, and I definitely do see a lot of differences. I don't know if you can, but right now I'm noticing that this one is very flat along the side of the head, whereas this, it's a little round, which, since the minifigure heads are round, I think that that's kind of cool. But honestly, there's something about the one on the right. it looks so bulky, and it almost reminds me of like boxing headgear. Like it's so big. I don't know what it is about that. But again, maybe it's because you're seeing a bit of the top of the head. You do see a bit more of the shape of the head, where you can actually see the roundness of the minifigure head, where it completely grabs it at the top. But in terms of the lines here that you're seeing on the side of the head, you could see, like, they're very, very similar. Even the little divot there on the side, they're very, very similar in that aspect. Now, if you look at it here on the back, they are vastly different. Like, the lines and shapes that are being created here, they're really, really different. I know that a question would be is, can you connect the two different helmets? And you can't. Like, it's just not possible. They both have different hinge shapes there. You could see how this one's thinner and that one's a little bit thicker to actually attach to. So even the thick one here, like if I were to show you it here in front, it just won't connect. It's too thick. Something I didn't mention was the visor height of this one is a lot taller. You can see how high that actually goes up, and also closing it. And I haven't really used this from last year, maybe just opening and closing it for the review and while I was building it. But these become very loose over time, especially when you play with them. Like the original ones, I was playing with them back in 2012 and 2013. That's really loose. I don't know if you can tell that, but it's very, very loose there in comparison. Now this, it actually snaps in to place. Now, I'm not sure what exactly is snapping, but it does feel a lot stronger, and I've definitely opened and closed this one a lot of times just to sort of get a feel for it in comparison to that. And this seems more stiff than the one that I've probably interacted with a lot less from last year. Here is another suit that I know people just want comparison between just to see what it looks like. This is the Mark 85, the Endgame suit, and in comparison, you definitely see why I think this helmet exists, because it is a new shape. It's not the same shape as the ones from 2012. Like I was saying, all of the sort of original Iron Man suits have a very similar head shape and design. This helmet, towards the more recent movies, they're very vastly different. And you definitely see what they're able to do there with the printing on the helmet to make it look unique, versus this pretty much just looks like the old one, except the difference here being that it's got blue eyes and some lines on the very top of the head. But again, this gives you more leeway of what you can print. This is probably the most notorious Iron Man. This is probably the most notorious Iron Man helmet, I would say, that used that comic book one, the one that we got the most. So just to give you a comparison here, because I know that a lot of people are curious, you're able to print so much. Like, look, they're printing in the little cheek section there, the little divot. Like, that's pretty awesome. And maybe the one on the right is a little bit too tall. I'm not sure. I still have to get used to it. I think that's another thing, is we're just so used to these from 2012 and 2017. This is what the back of the head looks like here on that classic one. So it doesn't have a flip-up feature. It's printed specifically onto the helmet. And that effect, again, it allows you to get all these different shapes. Like, look at this here. Like, look at the shape of the visor for Rescue. Like, it's very unique. And again, they're printing the blue and the divot there. And then this is the most recent and the last version to use the comic book one. This is from the mechs that released in March. You definitely see just the shape of the helmet. Like, it is very different again. The shape of the visor, the printing that they're being able to do. I definitely understand why a flat mask is better in this aspect. However, I just want to draw your attention at the end here to this helmet. This helmet's from 2013, from Iron Man 3. This is the Heartbreaker suit. And it's the only suit, I looked at all the ones that I have in my collection, it's the only one to do this. It has a little bit of printing there on the top to actually make the helmet different. Now, I'm not sure how effective that would be, since, like, looking at the side here, there's a lot of gold and different things that you'd have to cover to actually make it. Actually, I think the whole plate here, if I lift it up, yeah, there's still dark red. So the fact that in general the Iron Man helmets are able to be printed on the side like that detailed, is incredible. So in the future, I definitely see the advantages towards this suit. Like, look how unique of a helmet this is. And I even think of some of the ones that, like, don't have mouths, like Shotgun suit that doesn't have a facial slit. And what that means is that they wouldn't have to print, like, on and around this facial slit. They just would decide whether or not to actually include it printed onto this new helmet. So in a lot of ways, I see the appeal to the suit for sure. In some ways it succeeds, in some ways it doesn't. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this new helmet. Please let me know. How do you feel now after seeing them side by side, all the functionality of it, the strength of this new one, the potential for this new one, how it could be used in the future? And I think that my nostalgia lenses are really heavily influencing my opinion on this, but maybe over time my opinions will change on this as we continue to get more. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hope you all have a great day. I will see you all in the next one.